Well, it's time for another gardening week, and I have actually managed to get a whole day on the allotment, and it was really getting away from me. There was so many jobs to do, and I've been so busy with other things that I thought I was kind of getting to the point where I was almost like, oh, I'm just going to give up on summer. But yeah, it's amazing how much you can get done really in a good day. So cleared all the rubbish that was in this polytunnel, loads and loads of stuff that was kind of growing in here, that was, all past its best. And I took all the tops off all the beetroot, which is something that I often do, which I never see anybody else do. But rather than put them into store at this point, because I've got way too much beetroot to harvest or to use right now, I take the tops off. It stalls the growth. They don't go woody or anything like that, and they grow lovely new leaves. And the old leaves were getting a bit mildewy, and they'd been a bit eaten and all that sort of thing. There's a few caterpillars on them and all that. But now they'll just grow nice new leaves, which we can eat in salads and things like that. The beetroot stay alive, they stay fresh, they need less water, which is good, and it just looks a lot tidier. And it's a lot easier for me to sort of water the other plants and all of that sort of thing. I'm clearing this bed as well, and then next week I'll clear that bed. So really I'll just be leaving the tomatoes in there and just a few peppers, but not very many peppers. And these courgettes will be coming out pretty soon, because already we've got more courgettes pretty much than we can eat. These plants are old now. We've taken dozens of courgettes off these plants. And they're starting to come to the end of their life. They've been busy feeding us for months, and it'll be nice to have some space back in the polytunnel and less things to water. I did say that I didn't really want containers in here by the time we got properly into summer, and made a slight exception by leaving these in just because they've been so productive. But yeah, I want to get them out, and I will just compost them, as I say, because I've just got plenty of courgettes, so I don't need these plants. And last week I got the leeks in, so these are the leeks we'll be eating in sort of late winter and spring. And this week I got most of the red cabbages out. There's still a few down there. And then all of these are carrots, and I did a dedicated video about that. But there's about 200 carrots in here, 250 carrots. They're the ones we're going to be eating in sort of late autumn, early winter. And then down there, I have to raise this net up a little bit to give them space. I'm going to put leeks. I've got a few leeks still to put in. So yeah, it's one of the things I never seem to find enough space for leeks, but I'm trying to do a better job of it this year. This is one of my favourite beds. I've just harvested the elephant garlic from it, and I've actually just replanted the rounds and spaced them out nicely. I've left a few of them in as well, which I couldn't be bothered to take out, but these are also just rounds. So the main elephant garlics that's differentiated into cloves, they're all drying in the polytunnel right now. And what I've also done is I've just had 3 spare squash plants, and I hate just throwing things away, so I've just planted those, one there, one somewhere behind me there, and one over there, and they'll kind of sprawl out underneath these trees, and we'll see how they're doing. I've just noticed a lot of ants going up this tree trunk here, so there's probably aphid problems on this tree, but that's just a problem the tree will have to deal with, because I haven't got time for it at the moment. And I've also been tying in my squash plants that are going to grow on this frame, and I've got 2 other frames as well, and obviously I've been tying those in as well. So they're all looking really good. I'm pretty pleased with them. I did manage to break one of them off, but I'm hoping a side shoot will grow on that one. Took garlic out of here. All of these are shallots that went to seed. I'll have to pull those out soon. But yeah, I'm really fussy with these squash plants. I think they're going to look lovely on this frame. quite a lot of my covered beds have got melons in them at the moment, so I'll just show you this one, which is one of my favourite ones. They're looking really great. I need to give them a bit of TLC, but other than that, they're coming on quite well. And then finally, I took the peas out. So the peas were between these two stakes here, and they take up a lot of the bed because they kind of gradually sort of fall over this in this direction. So this bed is a right old mess. It's still got a few useful onions in it, not very many, and a few very straggly lettuces. So within a week I'll get all this bed cleared and we'll get it replanted. We do have some lovely peas back at home though, so we're not short of peas. And next month, I think, fairly early on anyway, in July, I'll be starting my terrain peas, which are a late pea, which don't get mildew, and we grew them last year and they were very successful, so looking forward to having those again. And then this bed here is my early kale, and it's an absolute, when it goes like this, it's an absolute magnet for cabbage aphid. So I'm going to take all the tops off here because I really don't want cabbage aphid in this bed, because it's going to be my purple sprouting broccoli bed. So I'm going to take, say, just the tops off and get those composted, and hopefully you can see what I mean. I'll probably have to fire break this bed for a week at least after I've cleared it before I put the PSB in. And then finally I'll just show you these. So these are my early sprout plants, and because the weather's been so hot they've come pretty early this year. So I've been eating the leaves off these now, and the leaves are starting to be quite low quality. So I've taken the tops off the plants, and that's obviously stimulating the sprouts to start growing on the stem. And you get these lovely loose Brussels sprouts, which are my absolute favourite brassica to eat in summer. So they should be ready all the way through July really, and then I'll take these plants out in August along with the calabrese that's next to them, and get this bed replanted for autumn. So fortunately I managed to get another hour on the allotment, so I managed to get these kales out. I'm taking the roots out of the old brassicas, so these were red cabbages and kales, and I've lined the bed ready for the purple sprouting broccoli. I'm just taking out, as I say, these old plants. Normally I like to leave the roots in, but they're going to get in the way of the purple sprouting broccoli, so I'm going to take them out. I'm just going to leave these 3 cabbages in until the very last minute, because I've got a lot of cabbages to harvest. I'm not actually planting the purple sprouting broccoli for, well, I don't know, a week or so, maybe next week sometime. And the reason I've taken all the outer leaves off these is because there's quite a lot of whitefly in this bed, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, I think I'm trying to create a kind of like a fire break between the previous brassica crop and the next brassica crop, and so all of these leaves that are left on now are completely clear of any whitefly or cabbage aphid or anything like that. So hopefully this bed will kind of get its fire break period. I just got all these slugs and snails everywhere. Yeah, and that's one of the things I want to do, is also kind of get it all nice and clear so that I can find any weeds, any slugs, any snails and get rid. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Bed is looking okay. I'm going to put some compost over the top of it. Some, what shall I use this time? I think I'll use well rotted cow manure for this bed, and we'll get the purple sprouting broccoli in, as I said, pretty soon. Oh, so that's looking a lot better. Can't wait to get this replanted now. So here's the harvest, and this is kind of my new strategy in action now. This is the sort of size of harvest that we're kind of trying to achieve. It's a bit tricky, but anyway, I've been trying. So just 1 tableful basically is kind of what we're trying to get to. So what have we got? We've got cooking carrots, salad carrots, and actually these are the last of the carrots from containers, I think, or maybe the penultimate from containers. And we'll soon be back to carrots from the ground. I really got to sow some carrots earlier in the ground because they do taste so much better. Broad beans, and oh yes, so these are the blown sprouts that I love so much. They're not really blown, to be truthful. I mean, they're just summer sprouts, and when they grow in summer, they don't grow tight. They grow sort of loose like this beautiful like little bouquet of leaves, and they're so tender. And because I've got loads of these now, I'm not actually picking any kale because, these are so much better than kale ever can be. And yeah, so I've also been started to pick some of my spare onions. So my strategy this year was to put a lot of Leela onions into the beds. And Leela's a bulbing onion that's also a salad onion. So if you don't pick it as a salad onion, so when it's a bit younger, it bulbs like this. And you get these beautiful sort of young, fresh bulbs. And we've got loads and loads of them. So I'm starting to pick those now because hopefully we won't need them as full-size bulbing onions. So we've got also some sort of giant salad onion varieties. And the purples, so this is the penultimate harvest of the purple cauliflowers. And then I've got 2 more of these red cabbages to harvest, big ones actually. So hopefully that'll last us for 3 weeks, and then we'll be on to the main crop cabbages. I've been really pleased though with these small ones. I planted a lot of them, and we've managed to get through them all, and we've not had to take any plants out that didn't give us some sort of heart. I mean, obviously that is not much of a cabbage heart, but still it's kind of makes for a nice meal for a couple of people. And I've got little celery and some smaller salad onions, and then the tomatoes and the first few peppers. I think we've had a few, like maybe 5 peppers in total so far, so that's slow but sure sort of start to the pepper season. Courgettes looking really lovely, and that's not the number of courgettes we've harvested so far in the last 5 days, but because we've eaten a few as we've gone along. But anyway, still quite nice. Nice mix here of the French beans, the amethyst and the cobra, and there's a few sprite in there, but the sprite are a bit small still. And these are kind of little root boxes that we've just started to make up. So we've got like the mixes of turnips, little potatoes for my youngest daughter because she really likes the little ones, and some few beetroot here. And strangely, I haven't got any red beetroot. Why is that? I don't know. Anyway, we've got loads and loads of red beetroot. In fact, I gave 20 away this week to one of my fellow plot holders whose wife loves making pickled beetroot, and he didn't have any, so I gave him some of mine, and I must have forgotten to harvest it for myself. Anyway, I can rectify that this afternoon. Cucumbers, that's the first real pick of the cucumbers. I think I had like 2 last week or something like that, but slightly more manageable levels of cucumber harvest than we had last year, because I think last year we were picking about 30 or 40 a week. Peas, these are mainly March 2 peas, but there's a few sugar snap peas in there. Golden purslane for the salad mixes, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, very popular, that one. And that's the last of the true spinach, although I have just germinated some true spinach for baby leaf, that's going to be picked for the salad mixes, and 1 tub of chard, and then all the rest are the salad bases. So I've got to make those salad bases up now with all the sprinkles, and then we'll be done. So that is truly a nice little harvest by comparison with what we normally pick. But yeah, that's kind of what we get through in about 5 days, and we're only picking for 5 days this week because we've got family over and all sorts of different things happening. So yeah, we would normally have just a little bit extra than that, but that's a nice table.